What if I told you the story of America's discovery you learned in school was wrong? We've all heard the rhyme. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. For centuries, he was celebrated as the man who discovered the New World. But what if another European had already landed on American shores, nearly 500 years earlier? This isn't just a wild theory. In 1965, a mysterious medieval map surfaced, sending shockwaves through the historical community. It was called the Vinland map. It depicted a shockingly detailed coastline of a landmass west of Greenland, a place named Vinland, if authentic. This map was physical proof of a secret history, a story that had been dismissed as myth for centuries. The Vikings were here first, but how did we get from a half-forgotten legend to a world-changing discovery? The story is even more incredible than the map itself. For hundreds of years, the only clues we had were hidden within epic poems, the Icelandic sagas. These weren't dry historical texts. They were thrilling, action-packed stories of heroes, monsters, and epic voyages. Two sagas in particular, the saga of the Greenlanders and the saga of Eric the Red, told the tale of a fierce Viking explorer named Leif Erikson. Around the year 1000, Leif, son of the infamous Eric the Red, set sail west from the Viking colony in Greenland, seeking new lands and resources. According to the stories, he found a new world. He named one area Helgeland, or Land of Flat Stones, likely Baffin Island. Another he called Markland, Land of Forests, probably Labrador. But the final, most tantalizing place he named Vinland, the Land of Wine, because of the wild grapes his crew found growing there. But were these sagas fact or fiction? For a long time, most historians thought they were just that, myths entertaining, yes, but not a reliable source. After all, where was the proof? There were no Viking ruins, no buried longships, no Norse artifacts found anywhere in North America. The story of Leif Erikson was a fascinating what-if, but without physical evidence, it remained a legend. The trail of breadcrumbs left by the sagas seemed to lead nowhere. That all changed in the 1960s, thanks to the persistence of two remarkable people. Norwegian archaeologist Helge Ingstedt and his wife, archaeologist Hans Steiningstedt, believed the sagas held real, geographic clues. They were convinced Vinland wasn't a myth. Following the descriptions in the texts, the sailing times, the coastal features, they began a systematic search along the North American coast. For years, they sailed and searched, until one day, a fisherman in a small Newfoundland village told them about some strange, overgrown mounds. In a place called Meadows, at the very northern tip of Newfoundland, Canada, they made a discovery that would rewrite history. As they began to dig, the truth emerged from the earth. They unearthed the unmistakable foundations of Norse longhouses, built in the same style as those found in Greenland and Iceland. They found a forge, complete with charcoal and slag evidence of ironworking, a technology unknown to the native peoples of the region at that time. They uncovered artifacts that were undeniably Norse, a bronze ring-headed pin used to fasten a cloak, a soapstone spindle whorl for spinning wool. This was it. This was the irrefutable physical proof. Meadows was a European base in North America, established 500 years before Columbus was even born. The myths were true. The discovery at Meadows confirmed the sagas, but also opened up an even bigger mystery. If the Vikings had the skill and the ships to cross the Atlantic and build a settlement in America, why didn't they stay? Why didn't Viking cities spring up along the North American coast? The answer, once again, lies in the sagas and the archaeological evidence. Unlike the Spanish conquistadors who arrived centuries later, backed by the full might of a kingdom and driven by conquest, the Norse explorers were small groups, likely family-led expeditions searching for resources like timber, which was scarce in Greenland. They weren't an invading army. They were pioneers on the edge of their known world. The sagas describe tense and often bloody encounters with the native inhabitants, whom they called skrylings, a term that likely covered various indigenous groups. One famous account tells of Leif Erikson's brother Thorvald being killed by an arrow in a skirmish, outnumbered thousands of miles from any hope of reinforcement, and facing a rightfully hostile native population defending their own land. The small Viking presence couldn't last. The first European colony in America was not a grand success. It was a short-lived and ultimately failed experiment. So what is the true legacy of the Vikings in America? The settlement at Meadows is more than just a historical curiosity. It fundamentally rewrites the timeline of global exploration. It proves that the great age of discovery didn't begin with a quest for a shortcut to the Indies, but with the relentless westward push of the Norse people. For centuries they had been island hopping across the North Atlantic from Norway to the Shetlands, the Faroes, Iceland, Greenland, and finally, to the shores of a new continent. They were the true European discoverers of America. Their short-lived colony is a powerful testament to their incredible skill as sailors and navigators, but it also serves as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of the worlds they collided with. The story of Vinland is a story of human courage, curiosity, and ultimately, limitation. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for the Origin Pulse. You won't want to miss our next episode, where we'll explore the dramatic and tragic fall of the mighty Aztec Empire. See you then.